This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 39.
Whoa,
wow.
39. Wow.
Yeah, great to have you here with us today. We're so thankful for you, our listener. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
Big 4-0 coming up.
Yep, big 4-0.
Cool.
It's a great decade.
That is a great decade, that's for sure.
Ryan, what are we talking about today?
Well, as you know, Michelle, and as some of our listeners know, we've been doing a little work around our house. Right?
Not really by choice.
Right. Yeah, we had
forced work.
Yeah, forced work. We had some water, and as we're recording this, I think there's more water coming, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh. I had to run into the building because there's a big hailstorm in progress. So Are you worried about our house right now?
A little bit.
I'll check it when I get home.
Yeah.
There's probably more water in there.
So
wish us luck, you guys.
Right. So if you've been following along.
Homeownership. You know what? I know that they say homeownership is so great, but serious thoughts about renting.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? Just a maintenance-free
Just call
life.
Somebody.
Hey, Bob, we got some water.
I don't know. Maybe. So, as you know, we've been doing some work, and part of this, we had some water damage. We had to have some drywall cut out.
Yeah, because the water led to discovery of mold. So carpet was ripped out, padding. You guys know this. You've talked about it.
Yeah.
Because it happened a week before graduation. Really, really cool timing.
Yeah, great timing.
We found mold. So that meant that walls had to be cut out. Part of a wall.
Right. So I know some of you listening, that might, you might hear that and you're like, oh, that's easy. Easy. Well, you guys, I'm not that person.
I'm not that person either.
Yeah. I look at this and I'm like, what in the world? Okay.
Hey, God gives everybody different gifts.
Yeah.
So you are really, if you need financial planning, investments, Ryan, you're a genius. Marketing, creativity, partnerships. Yeah. Hey, I can help. Great brain.
Yeah.
Fixing things. Didn't get those talents.
Not really a skill, But here's the thing, Michelle. I learned something with this project, and it's really the fact that you have to have the right tools for the job.
Yeah. See,
when I looked at our drywall project, I had three things, right? I had a utility knife, a hammer, and a crowbar.
What was your plan?
Well,
bash it out.
I didn't really have one, and
because that was totally my plan. At one point, in frustration, I was just going to hammer the wall out. Yeah,
but thankfully, we have a skilled friend. Thanks, Sean. You're the
Thank
best.
You, Sean.
Yeah, saved us a fair amount of money. Okay, not only did he have the expertise to do it, he had the right tools.
Yep.
He literally had this saw. I don't know what it was. It was a saw of some kind. Literally cut a perfect, 2 feet, just a perfect kind of straight line, across our drywall. It was awesome, and it was
easy for him.
Yeah, it was so easy.
I think he said, well, this goes back to having the right tools and the right skills to use those tools. When he told us what we should do, he said, just cut out the drywall. Just cut out the 2 feet, 2 feet drywall. Just do it. But there really was no just doing it with the tools we had or the skills that we had for those tools.
Right.
Sean had the right tools, had the right skills. Yeah. No big deal. In, out, I don't know. He was there for an hour. Yeah. Most of it's just chatting. Yeah. Actual cutting the drywall was very quick.
Probably 5 minutes.
Yep.
But he had the right tools. He had the right expertise. And I think sometimes, Michelle, this analogy, I think we can apply it so much to our marriages and to our relationships. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, we need to have the right tools. Because, as I'm thinking about this drywall, okay, if I had to use the tools that I had, a hammer,
right,
a crowbar, right, I would have made a mess of this thing.
True.
There would have been giant holes everywhere.
Right. A lot more work to repair.
Right. Instead of this easy patch job that is going to get done on our drywall.
Well, and again, that goes back to easy for some people.
Easy
again,
for
with
people.
the right, tools and the right skills.
Right.
But it's done clean where it will be.
It's clean. It'll be
for
easy
other
to
people.
to patch for people that are skilled to do so.
Right.
And I think...
Yeah, I love this concept.
Yeah, I think just, as we're thinking about relationships, as we're thinking about marriage, I just think, man, if you have the wrong tool and you're coming at this with a hammer and you're making giant holes, it's hard to fix.
Yeah, like a bulldog in a bull in a china shop. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can never get sayings right. Like a bulldog in a china shop. There we go. That's
bulldog
a new one.
In a china shop.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
But using the wrong tools.
Right.
That's a great example, Ryan. And I feel like so many of our guests have really talked about these. I think the appropriate word for them is soft skills, but these are skills that you don't really learn in school. The art of communication, the art of how to resolve conflict in a healthy manner. These skills are so valuable, and yet we don't often work on them. We work on, math and science and all these things that are really great smarts, book smarts and such to have, but these are really important skills for a marriage. And that's why it requires intentionality. We've used that word a ton lately to learn it, to work on it, to grow in it. And that's why you, our listener, are making such a great investment with listening to these shows, because that's what we're doing. We're helping to give you skills. The Celebrate MarriageCast is equipping you with these skills, and today, the tools.
The tools, right. And I think when we look at tools, Michelle, there's typically, and I don't know if it's the society we live in, but I feel like we gravitate towards one, and that's love.
Sure.
As the song goes, all you need is love.
All you need is love.
Yeah. Do you know who sings it?
No,
not
me.
I think it's the Beatles, but I don't know.
Oh my gosh, well, that's embarrassing if we don't.
Well, I don't know either. Maybe if you know, you can put that in the comment.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but I think the problem is that it's very easy to get us off course when all we're doing is focusing on love.
Sure.
Like you approach marriage and the only tool you have is love.
Right.
Now, I think it's a great tool. I'm not saying that, but I think like what happens, okay, when your spouse doesn't show you love or doesn't act out of love? Do you respond with love?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is if that's the tool, I think sometimes we attach a conditional love to it, of like, if there's a disagreement or something like that, and I'm angry, well, it's easy to respond then in anger.
Sure. You're not going straight to love.
Right. So I think we need to add a few more tools outside of love.
Sure. Because a lot of dating relationships too, I think, it's a lot of love base. I'm so in love. But once you get into marriage, it's like you're going to have those rifts where you're right, Ryan. You're not going to feel like loving in that moment. So if you're, like you said, your spouse does something that doesn't feel loving and all you have for your tools is love, like how do you respond?
Yeah. So today we want to talk about adding a few more tools, because life's going to throw a lot of different things at you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we need to add a few more tools. And really, I think we have to look no other place really than the Bible and dig into something that are called the fruits of the Spirit. I don't know, Michelle, you've got your Bible there.
Yeah.
Did you want to read through them?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I don't want to take it away from you, but I have a little note in my Bible that I was gonna reference to. So, but yeah, I can read it. Yeah. So this is from Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." It goes on to say, those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the sinful nature with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking and envying each other. So again, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yeah, I think those are all great tools. And you see that love is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these are all great tools that you can use in your marriage, in your relationships, as things happen, as things come up. You know, these tools can make a huge difference.
Do you want to know what I have in the margins? My Bible. I write my Bible, you guys. Our pastor encouraged us years ago to do this. It might feel like, I don't know, that might in itself might feel a little bit rebellious or sinful to someone to like write in the Bible, but it's been really cool because I have all of these notes. But Ryan, do you see this here? I'll show you too if you're watching. It says, for a healthy marriage. And then I have a little arrow bracket to the fruits of the Spirit. Fruits of the Spirit for a healthy marriage. And you know what's really cool? We picked this scripture. You did. You picked this scripture before I even looked it up in my Bible and saw that note.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I feel like that was a total God confirmation right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, are there one or two of these that really resonate with you?
Yeah. I think I don't want to take one that I think you might probably have a similar one, but the first one that jumps out for me is self-control. I think that I can tend to be kind of black or white in my thinking. So for whatever reason, this week has been the ultimate week of running late, and I try to build in margins and buffers in my schedule, but sometimes you just can't control traffic or technology. And I think I can default to this kind of a panic, like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This is the worst situation. Well, is it really the worst? No, there are so many. I mean, is me showing up late to a rather important meeting, is that really the worst thing? Or is child, poverty and trafficking in our country and countries around the world, is that like the worst? You know what I mean? Like in the big giant scheme of things, like, oh my gosh, my problems are so small, but I can just get myself worked up into such a kind of a tizzy where it's like, I just start snowballing and I get really, I get myself worked up. And I think for me, some of what I've learned too is there are things I can control. I know when I'm not on my supplement routine, when it's been like for me, I've done a lot of studying, just like reflecting on, when do I feel best mentally, physically, as well as when I'm nourishing my body, when I'm eating healthy, when I'm, I have my magnesium and vitamin D and all of my supplements that are like making my, brain levels and all my levels, I feel good. And I think that's probably been off of those for a little while just because things are busy and then it kind of cycles into another. But, yesterday this meeting that I was talking about, it was a brand new sponsor and it was a big, important meeting. And I left one meeting with a sponsor or a donor to go to another one. And my phone was not connecting to maps. And even though I've lived in this city most of my life, this location was one that I didn't know quite how to get to. I didn't know what exit. I didn't know the best route. And because I had left the first meeting a little later than anticipated, my margin got smaller and I was assuming I would have my Apple Maps to take me right there and I could go, no problem. But I couldn't get it to work. So I called you in a panic, and you're at work trying to do your job to the best of your ability. And I'm just at a loss. And I'm like, Ryan, I need you to tell me how to get to this location. And so you're doing it. And I'll just share, you guys. I feel like it just snowballed, but I was going to the interstate and I was like, which way? I'm like, towards a church or towards soccer. And you're like, no, it's not by the church. So I went by the on-ramp exit that I should have, or entrance that I should have taken. Because anyways, long story short, I couldn't get the information I needed from you quick enough to make the turn. And I got more off track. And so as the situation was unplanned, and then I couldn't get a U-turn, and then I needed to go all the way back to get to the on-ramp. And my blood pressure was like elevating, and I was starting to like get really frantic with you, and you were just trying to help, but I had lost my self-control. And in that moment, I felt like this runaway freight train, and I needed to exercise self-control. And I feel like I needed to exercise self-control, and you've modeled this so well. And because you were, trying to just re-guide me and redirect me, I feel like that helped. But that's just, I don't know, that when I'm at maybe my weakest, I feel like that one is an area that I can focus on most, or that I should.
Sure.
So that I try to.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I feel like I do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So self-control. And I'm sure listeners can relate, that it's easy to kind of let a mountain or a molehill, what was this? Oh my gosh, saying it like a molehill turns into a mountain, make a mountain out of a molehill.
There you go. Yeah, that's the way.
Got it.
Yep.
You guys, you know what I need is like a book of sayings so I can learn the proper sayings so that I don't invert them or mess them up. Okay, so that was a long answer for that, but self-control, and I think it's just because it's so like fresh. And then the other one that I think for me is gentleness and faithfulness jump out to me. Faithfulness, because I feel like we've done a really good job of surrendering our relationship to God and putting it in His hands, and knowing that, hey, no matter what, God is going to help us get through this. So faithfulness for me is one that I feel like really is kind of a big one where, hey, we're going to have disagreements, but we're in this together. Actually, I should read our listeners an example of what you sent to me yesterday, just as a model of faithfulness. You had said, I love you, Michelle. And I said, I don't feel worthy of that right now. I'm really sorry. I was so frustrated with you, and yelling on the phone, just in this frustrated, like, which exit, where do I go? I need you to tell me. And you had just said, we are partners, my love, same team, in it to win it, running to win. We pick each other up and forgive each other. And I said, love, thank you. You sent me a lion heart eye emoji. But I think that was just such an example of faithfulness, of, honoring God, honoring me, and just showing that we're in this together.
Right.
That faithfulness.
Right.
And then gentleness. I do feel like for the most part, I try to be gentle. I guess unless I'm driving in loss, that was not so gentle. But gentleness resonates with me.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Thanks, love.
Yeah.
I try. Yeah. I try to be tender and sensitive, and but so gentleness would be the fruit. What about you, love?
Yeah, I think something, Michelle, I think especially, we've talked about this on previous episodes. I think especially when it comes to our children.
Sure.
I feel like your gentleness is so high.
Mm.
I feel like I'm not as gentle, so I think, as we look at other aspects of tools to use, you may find different tools for different projects, quote unquote projects,
sure.
if you will, and I think that's navigating, hey, our son is really fragile right now. Gentleness comes in to play.
Sure.
And I think... But
I want to clarify, like, I don't feel like you're harsh.
No.
I just think that I'm like more gentle.
Yeah.
You do a really great job. I think where you exercise with the kids is you have a lot of, well, I'll let you get to them.
Yeah.
I see you exercise patience and self-control with them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think those two are probably, patience and self-control are probably, those two resonate very highly with me in different circumstances.
Yeah.
Going back to this situation, and
oh, you guys, I didn't even want.
No, I didn't realize we were talking about it.
Well, you came up with an idea for the show to talk about, how you make up from arguments or whatever. And I said, oh, if we talk about that, I'm going to tell the story because it's fresh and raw and it's just going to spill out, because that's what we try to do, is we try to be real and authentic.
Right.
But you know what? I think in my heart, even with this different topic, I still knew it was coming out.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's real life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think to answer the question, I mean, we're not perfect, we've said that, but it's using the tools, so going back to this, as I'm thinking about this, had I reacted, and not using one of the tools of self-control, like, then you have two people that are just really going head to head at each other. And I think that's where, you're bringing a hammer to something that, you need a saw.
Yeah.
You need to use a tool in this situation where, obviously something is going on.
Yeah.
And as I look at the fruit of the Spirit and I'm looking at tools, I can say, okay, man, if I bring a hammer to this, it's going to be messy.
Well, and even in that situation, if you would have just gotten so mad at my frustration that you would have hung up, I mean, it would have been then thinking of the damage. I would have missed the meeting. It would have been really devastating to me.
Right.
Because it was a big meeting. It was really important to me and to my new position. So you exercise self-control in that, because you could have responded by, a variety of different ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think, just self-control. I mean, I think of that situation, patience. I think a lot of our children, I feel like I have great patience.
Mm-hmm. You've taught me patience with them. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. I mean, I think that is a skill. And I think part of, I'm thinking about last week's episode with Pastor Lewis talking about, a lot of men growing up, you don't know certain skills. You have to learn them. And I'm thinking about that with our children. They don't know.
Right.
And so part of it's, man, you got to have patience with them.
Right.
They might ask you a million questions. They just don't know.
Right. I think it's really easy with children to forget that, or just assume that they have it all figured out. But, when you're looking at, an elementary age child, they don't know. They're just babies, really. And I think for us, having Ella, who's 18, Thomas, who's 9, I've been able to look at him a little differently, just thinking, I think when they're so separated, it's like, I look at Thomas and I see how little he really is. And I think maybe if you just have all of your kids are that age, you can kind of, if you have, let's say like a 3, 5, and 8-year-old or something, they might seem bigger than they are. But having a child that's older, now I look at Thomas and think, oh, he really is so little. In the grand scheme of things, they're so little. Even Ella, who's 18, there will be moments where she's so smart and she had a beyond 4.0, but there will be moments where we'll just kind of laugh and say, Ella, really? And it will be, I can't think of an example of a situation, but just something that she hasn't quite figured out, or something about life that she just doesn't know. And we'll realize, oh my gosh, we need to explain. I'm trying to think of an example of, banking, or I don't think she'll be fine with it, but going to deposit her graduation money at the bank, or just these things where, it might be easy to think, well, surely you know how to do that. But it's realizing she's never done a cash deposit. Well, we have done a couple of check deposits, but things like that, just these life skills or these social skills, or even helping her to, hey, Ella, when someone, just social situations, hey, if someone asks you, a question, maybe you can respond instead of just saying yes or no. They're really trying to put themselves out there to make a conversation. So good conversation skills would be maybe responding with a sentence instead of a yes or a no. That's polite conversation. But she's not really known that. They're learning. They're kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as parents, that takes patience.
Yeah.
Right? It's not easy. But it's what we want to encourage you, our listeners, with today is the fact that to really grab hold of these tools. And I'm going to read them again. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And as Michelle said, as you're looking at these tools, how do I get them? How do I get them? And we've both shared, God's word is full of these. Obviously, we pulled this directly from there, but I think there's a lot of tools and there's a lot of resources to acquire those tools, and I think I think God's word obviously is the big one, but I think there's a lot of books. There's obviously a podcast that you're listening to right now. There's their mentors, life groups, small groups, that you're doing life with. There's a lot of ways to acquire those tools.
That's good. That's good, Ryan. And I think too, for our listeners, reminding yourself that these new tools take practice. So even if we would have had our friend Sean come over, who we met through life groups. Yeah. So, hey, yay, life groups.
Yeah, right.
And I think we probably owe Sean and Jackie a steak dinner or something because they really did save us a ton of money, a ton.
Yep.
But even if we would have had Sean's saw, it would have taken Ryan practice to learn how to use it. So maybe it wouldn't have been a perfectly straight line cut right away. So just knowing that as you start to exercise, the fruits of the Spirit, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, all of those, that it might take a couple of times, and that's okay. But maybe you write them on a Post-it note and put it on your mirror so you see those in the morning. So having it somewhere that you can see and remind yourself, and knowing that maybe you didn't grow up that way. Maybe there was a lot of responses with anger or shouting, but it does take a conscious effort to break that cycle. So have those listed somewhere and just start trying to make that effort.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michelle. Yeah, you need practice. Speaking, Michelle, what time is it?
You know what time it is, Ryan. It's mystery question time.
All right.
Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. We have a jar with some questions in it. We have no idea what's on the question. We are just going to, again, make ourselves vulnerable, share whatever question is on there.
You want me to draw it?
Sure.
All right. I'll just take this one.
And again,
this one right here.
If it's easy, I'll take it. If it's hard, you can take it. Is that handwritten? It's a handwritten piece of paper.
Wow, we actually just talked about this, but I'll read it.
Serious?
Yeah.
On our show?
Yeah, just now.
Okay, so these questions are submitted by our listeners, and you can send a message into our Celebrate MarriageCast text line, which is 605-951-0110. We'll have that in our show notes as well. But let's listen to today's question.
All right.
What do you have, Ray? Yep.
Take us back to your last fight.
Oh my gosh.
What was it and how did you work through it?
I was really mean to Ryan on the phone. I just lost it, you guys. I was yelling, which exit? And then he told me, I said, do I go on the interstate towards the church? And he said, no, it's past the church. No, go the other way. But the correct answer really was yes, that was the on-ramp I needed. But he was in his office. He didn't know. And it was happening really fast. And I just lost it because that detour sent me to the next light, where I couldn't do a U-turn. So I had to go again. And then it literally added 5 or 6 minutes to my route. And all I could think about for the rest of the trip when I was driving was, I'm going to be 6 minutes late. And that little slip up cost me 6 minutes. And I kept saying like, I just need those 6 minutes back. Ryan, I just need those 6 minutes back. Why didn't you know? That was my turn. But a couple of things here. One, I've lived in this city way longer than you. Like I should have just in my own brain, I think I've become too reliant on Apple Maps. Like I should have known that I needed to go on which ramp was it even? The north ramp? It kind of curves. So anyways, I should have known that. And there were a lot of things, there were a lot of other factors. One, it was my first meeting with this donor. There were other people at the meeting. There was a long relationship there. The director of this place had lined. There were just a lot of variables, and I felt so there was a lot of pressure I was putting on myself, and I was also mad at myself for not sticking to my timeline with the first meeting with another sponsor who was also an important meeting, but I didn't stick to that, and so I was mad at myself is what it was. That's the root of it. I was mad at myself for not having enough buffer. And I was frustrated with technology. We have a different cell phone plan. I ran out of data, and that's now resolved. We just upgraded my whole phone plan because that's not worth it. But I couldn't get my maps, so I was frustrated with technology, and I just took it out on Ryan. That's what I did. Yeah, I was mad at myself and frustrated with technology, and I took it out on my spouse, and it wasn't fair. But I just went, all or nothing, and all of a sudden it was the worst. And, it was, I think I'd said like, gosh, this is just the worst situation. And that's not true. It wasn't. And I think I did get there 6-7 minutes, maybe by the time I walked in late, but the board member had a chance she got there right at the top of the hour. So it's not like she was there early, because that's what I pictured too. I thought, well, if she's there 15 minutes early, now it's really like they've been waiting for 22 minutes for me. And I just was picturing worst case scenario in my head, which I think is really easy to do. And I didn't have her number in my phone yet, so I couldn't call her. And it was all these different like fails that had happened along the way, and it just all bubbled up. But I got there. She had gotten there at the top of the hour, had a chance to bring a welcome gift to the person we were meeting with. They were interacting, and it was fine. Nobody was upset. Or if they were annoyed, they didn't show it. But it was fine. Smoothed it over. But yeah, I wasn't very friendly on the phone. I was just like yelling at you about the interstate turn. And then I just kept saying, I needed those 6 minutes back. I needed those 6 minutes. But you were just in your office trying to help, and you were also at work. So that was yesterday. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I think to answer, the second part of this, I think again, like
what's the second part?
Well,
can we also say we're not yellers? Like the fact that I don't know what happened that really got the best of me. Driving is stressful for me too. I felt horrible that I like was yelling at you.
Yeah,
that's not common.
Right. I mean, I think again, the tools you use are super important.
Take us back to your last fight. What was it, and how did you work through it?
And I think the second part of this is really being quick. I think being quick to apologize. Yeah. And being quick to resolve. Yeah. Part of that is going back to the tools, that we just discussed. Mm-hmm. And I think it makes it easier to patch, going back to the drywall. Like, well, again, if I had come at, because was I mad? Yes, mm-hmm. I was mad, but I knew these underlying things that were going on, and I knew, okay, here's the situation, here's what's going on, and so then I can act accordingly. And that makes it easier, being quick to apologize, quick to come back together, quick to reconnect.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you as a couple, I think being quick to apologize and quick to reconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked through it at lunch, because it says, how did you work through it? We talked through it at lunch, and it was still a little bit of, just like hurt feelings.
Yeah.
But, and then I read the text exchange, just Ryan just really being so full of goodness. And, I'm just looking at the fruits of the Spirit. Yeah. It was a lot of kindness, a lot of goodness, a lot of faithfulness and gentleness.
Yeah.
That you exercise in the text message. And then, talking about it again last night. And then I think even just be vulnerable, like even connecting intimately, I feel like is a great healer as well. And just making sure that we had time to talk about it, to really apologize, and then just, come together and just let each other know, like, hey, I love you so much, and we are there for each other.
Yeah.
And my heart feels healed now,
Yeah.
I feel like we're fine. And I mean, I think the quicker you are to repair those things too, it seems like they're less. They're far and further and fewer in between.
Right.
And I think we do a really good job of repairing through.
Yeah.
But keep working on the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
So, great question.
Great question.
Well, look, we were going to talk about that argument one way or the other. So
yeah.
Mystery question. Thank you very much. There we go. You guys all know now. So we'd love to hear your takeaway. Can you guys relate with this? Have you had a disagreement on directions? Has that caused any strife for you and your spouse? How did you work through it? We'd love to hear some of that feedback. Let us know on our text line. You can call that number and leave a message, or you can text into that number. But we want to say thank you so much for listening to the Celebrate MarriageCast. We have resources for you at celebrate.church/marriage. And we also have, like I said, that text line. We'll put some links in our show notes as well. And our Instagram, brand new Instagram, Celebrate MarriageCast. We are posting shorts there, so make sure you're following us on Instagram. And let us know how we can help you with your marriage. And please share this episode with friends as well. That really helps us to continue to grow the Celebrate MarriageCast. We hope you have a great week.
Have a great week.